It is a shadowy tale of a secret political donation, £425,000, which went to the pro-Brexit campaign. But where did it come from? No one knows, except the government's new partners in power, the DUP. And under old electoral rules, which have since been changed, they didn't have to reveal the source of political donations. Tonight, we track down the middleman behind it all, and we ask why the government won't backdate the new transparent funding rules to cover the Brexit vote. Could it be because the DUP is the only party blocking the idea? Our chief correspondent Alex Thompson has this.
The government's hold on power depends utterly on the DUP. So come with us not to Belfast, but Glasgow. We're on the trail of the secret money given to the party which keeps our government in power. For the first time, you'll see and hear from the man who gave the DUP hundreds of thousands of pounds in a secret deal, which ended up funding the mainland Brexit campaign.
Hi, Richard. I'm from Channel 4 News.
I know you. I recognise your face.
Good.
More from him in a moment. The man who took that secret money is Geoffrey Donaldson, DUP party treasurer. Here he is, posing for the family pictures on the right, before signing the £1 billion deal to keep the Conservatives in power.
Last time I signed a significant document on this, so I'm used to signing my life away.
Jokes from Mr. Donaldson, but now he seems reluctant to be interviewed about the secret money.
We've got our country back!
The Brexit result a year ago. But questions now surround the unexplained role the DUP played in the pro-Brexit campaign. This is the expensive wraparound advert in the Metro last year. It was funded by part of that £425,000 secret donation from the man in Glasgow. And that man is the former Scottish Conservatives Vice Chairman, Richard Cook, who runs the shadowy CRC, the Constitutional Research Council. After multiple requests for an interview, we finally caught up with him.
Hi, Richard. Listen, obviously we want to ask you some questions about the DUP business.
Richard Cook insists the CRC broke no laws.
So you're prepared to say, therefore, who donated this £425,000?
No, I have made it absolutely clear as to
is it secret or isn't it?
I don't set the rules.
No.
I don't set the rules as they pertain to any of the Electoral Commission's rules.
Sure, but so can you say who donated the money, where it came from?
You're going to go around in circles with me, and it's really not that constructive for you or for me.
The answer's no.
Well, can I say it?
Yeah.
I could if I wanted to, but I don't want to say it to somebody who's coming invading my family's privacy.
I'm asking you some questions with your permission. You
haven't asked me permission. You've just come and shoved a microphone in my face. You've got a camera.
And you're talking to me quite happily about that, so that you're obviously happy to do.
No. But sorry, I think that brings.
But why can't you say where the money came from?
I don't set the rules.
I'm not asking you that, but
I could if I wanted to. I'm sure I'd tell you the rules. So I don't want to tell you because you're invading my family's privacy.
But do you think it's acceptable that the money is secret for a political party?
I didn't set that rule. I didn't make the rule about privacy. I did not make the rules about privacy.
Why won't you say where it comes from?
That's
a lot of money.
Well, I might
to a political party.
I've been quite prepared to tell the Electoral Commission, and I think that's probably as much.
So you have told the Electoral Commission where that £425,000 came from? Who donated it?
Electoral Commission are fully aware of everything to do with the Constitutional Research Council.
You just said you told them where it come from. Did you tell them or didn't you?
Well, the rules as regards to the CRC are very clear at the Electoral Commission.
I'm not asking the rules, Richard. Did you or did you not tell the Electoral Commission, where that money had come from?
are fully aware of everything that the CRC has done, where it's raised its money from, and of any declarable donation.
So the Electoral Commission know where that money came from? Yes or no?
Yes.
Right. So they know where that money came from.
You happy?
Right.
But why donate to a Northern Ireland party? Because they could keep it secret.
You're talking to me.
A year ago, parties in Northern Ireland did not have to identify donors. It's a leftover law from the Troubles. So in effect, the DUP agreed to become a front organisation, secretly to finance a pro-Brexit campaign in mainland Britain with the money from Richard Cook. So will the money arranged here in Glasgow for the DUP remain forever secret? Well, just last week, the Secretary of State decided to bring political parties in Northern Ireland into line with the rest of the UK. So they will in future have to say where their political donations come from. But here's the thing, he didn't backdate that decision. Therefore, there will be no embarrassment for the DUP over this donation of £425,000, just at a time when the Conservative government relies on the DUP to stay in power. We can now reveal that only the DUP of all the Northern Irish parties now opposes revealing the identities of major party donors back to 2014 as the law allows, thus unmasking the secret DUP money.
There's a building behind me which is more or less empty at the moment. The Assembly is not functioning. There is no Northern Ireland executive because of a breakdown in trust. And that breakdown in trust is such that we really need to see parties being completely open and transparent about their links, so we know who's influencing who, why we're in the difficulties we're in at the moment. So it is a need, not just a want.
The government's supposed, of course, to be an honest broker in Northern Ireland, but forcing the DUP to be transparent in this case isn't easy when you rely on them to stay in power. And it's not just every party that wants disclosure backdated. So does the Electoral Commission itself, and a host of pressure groups outside party politics, like Friends of the Earth, who have long campaigned for transparency.
It would require a very small statutory instrument legislation to allow us to see the donor register back to the 1st of January 2014. And we think that for the good of UK democracy as a whole, James Brokenshire must now bring that statutory instrument to bear on all the political parties in Northern Ireland.
Last week, this programme spent several days attempting to organise an interview with Jeffrey Donaldson either in Northern Ireland or London to discuss these issues. The days went by. The DUP said they'd be in touch to fix it up. By now, it was Sunday.
Jeffrey, hi, it's Alex here from Channel 4 News. Kind of going around in circles here.
And we are still waiting. This evening, the DUP denied ever agreeing to an interview. They emailed us saying the secret donation was never raised as part of the £1 billion deal to keep the Tories in power. And the DUP say they have complied with the rules. Loyalist areas are readying the bonfires to be lit across Northern Ireland tomorrow night, celebrating the Protestants' victory over a Catholic king centuries ago. But tonight, their party is isolated. Unionist, Republican and cross-community parties all want openness to underpin our democracy, but not the DUP, and nor, it seems, their Tory partners. For both, secrecy appears to be the bedrock of power.
Alex Thompson reporting. Well, we did ask for an interview with the Northern Ireland Secretary, but he declined. Instead, in a statement, the Conservative Party said, there now appears to be an apparent policy shift by some parties. The Secretary of State does not believe it is right or fair to impose retrospective regulations on people who donated in accordance with the rules as set out in the law at the time. I spoke to Sinn Féin's Conor Murphy in Belfast, and I began by asking him what he thought this says about the Brexit campaign.
We did raise questions at the time as to how the DUP were bought into the campaign, how much it's going to cost them and us. We were aware of this donation being made to them by this circuitous route. The people of the north of Ireland here voted to remain within the European Union. That was their clearly expressed view. The DUP have taken a position of leaving the European Union. They received some financial benefit from that very clearly. We have asked since then for some transparency around this issue, and it seems to be a very, very underhand way that the money was put in through their party donations and then into the Brexit campaign itself. So aside from the disastrous consequences that there will be for the island of Ireland generally in terms of the outworking of Brexit, clearly in the middle of all of that there is many unanswered questions in relation to the DUP and the handling of this donation and who was behind that.
Well, of course, the whole issue of transparency has been problematical in the past, but that's over. Are you asking James Brokenshire to now extend the transparency backwards, in other words, retrospectively?
Yes, very clearly. That was the premise under which all of the political parties were operating on. The Electoral Commission had the same view that legislation would be brought in which would be backdated to 2014 in order to provide transparency around political donations. The announcement by James Brokenshire last week in the House of Commons was a surprise to everyone here, apparently, except for the DUP, that the the start date for that would be actually 2017, which would obviously exclude in providing any transparency around this particular donation in relation to the Brexit campaign. So I think clearly what we're seeing in that regard is some of the unseen part of the DUP Conservative government deal, the supply and confidence deal, which the DUP negotiated with them, which saw some money given for spending here in the north of Ireland. But clearly there were some under-the-table elements to that deal, one of which appears to be transparency issue and backdating that to 2014.
Why stop at 2014? After all, Sinn Féin has had pretty good heap of donations from the United States, yes, whose origin is probably somewhat obscure.
No, actually the reverse, because the United States have very, very strict regulations in terms of donations, and as a matter of fact in terms of how that money can be spent. And that's all audited very clearly. We publish our accounts every year to be seen, and clearly the money, any money that has come from the Irish American community in the States, as I say, follows very, very strict guidelines from the United States authorities around transparency and the purposes for which that money can be used. In relation to this donation to the DUP, quite clearly no one knows who is behind this group. It's a subject of quite a lot of investigation, and the DUP have been very circumspect about owning up as to who initiated this discussion with them in terms of receiving this donation and how they passed that on. And thanks to James Brokenshire's intervention last week, they now will not have to do that under the terms of our political donations legislation.
But if this deal whereby the government gives the DUP £1 billion, which of course will be spread amongst you, if that comes apart, then your constituencies are going to be pretty angry about the loss of services and the rest that they're going to suffer.
The Conservative government have taken more than £1 billion off the block grant that is available to the North as part of their austerity programme over the last 4 or 5 years, and they plan to, with the DUP propping them up and keeping them in power, they plan to take even more money off our ability to provide public services here. So our budgets have been cut very, very substantially, as I'm sure have those in Wales and Scotland as well. So whatever bung the DUP have received from the Conservative government will not undo that damage, and the DUP, as part of that agreement, have agreed to back any legislation in relation to Brexit, regardless of the damage that it will do to economic activity on the island of Ireland.
Conor Murphy, thank you very much indeed for joining us.